Here's something we can all relate to. Each and every one of us sitting here today has faced, whether big or small, a challenge in their life. We've all been through the pain and have dealt with the obstacles that have come with these challenges. I hope for most of us that we can say that there's been some real growth and learning that has come out of that challenge. Although we may not want to go through that situation again, some would say that the learning has taken them to a place where they wouldn't change what had happened to them. The truth is, we can't always control what happens to us, but we can choose our response and how we deal with that situation. Based on my own experience, I've come to believe that sometimes life's biggest challenges can be our greatest rewards. 21 years ago, my mom gave birth to my older brother, Riley. There were two immediate challenges she had to face. The first was being told that her child had Down syndrome, and the second being that he might not live through the night. A few hours after he was born, he had to be immediately transferred by helicopter to a children's hospital that would help save his life. My parents' initial feelings were shock and disbelief. They had to immediately deal with crisis and understand that life would be different than what they had expected. When my parents saw him hooked up to all of these tubes, fighting for his life, all they cared about in that moment was his survival. Dealing with the diagnosis of Down syndrome would have to come later. 3.5 years later, I came along, and so began my journey of growing up with a sibling who had special needs. This journey would become, for me, one of the greatest lessons of love, compassion, perseverance, effort, and tolerance. 3 years stand between us, but my mom always says that it was like she was raising twins. We were inseparable. We spent our days building pillow forts in the living room, laughing till our stomachs hurt, and dressing up in any costume duo that we could think of. If I dressed up as Lilo, then he would be Stitch. If he wanted to be Winnie the Pooh, then I would be Piglet. If I was a princess, then he would dress up as a prince. Let's just say our costume drawer was overflowing. When my little sister Kelly came along, we then made it into a costume trio. My brother was involved in a number of therapies to help with his speech, learning to walk, and developing his fine motor skills. If you came to my house growing up, then it would look like a cross between a small jungle gym and a colorful preschool. There were ramps to help him learn how to walk and crawl, monkey bars to help strengthen his lower muscle tone and breathing, and most objects in my house were labeled to help his speech and reading. We had every toy you could think of, which was used for play therapy. One of my favorite games was the blanket game, where I was placed in the middle of a large blanket, and my parents would hold either end and toss me as high as they could in the air. Little did I know, this game had a very specific purpose, to help alert my brother's senses, build his core strength, and keep him focused. So, what is Down syndrome? Down syndrome is when an individual has an extra chromosome in their genetic makeup. So typically we all have 46, whereas a person with Down syndrome has 47 chromosomes. The extra genetic material creates some key characteristics, such as being shorter in height and having almond-shaped eyes. It also creates lower muscle tone, making talking and daily living skills more challenging. There are varying degrees of developmental and cognitive delays. Imagine the frustration you would feel not being able to fully express yourself with words. Imagine having trouble with simple everyday living skills like buttoning your shirt or tying your shoes. Imagine being in a young adult body, but viewing and understanding the world from a much younger perspective. These are some of the challenges that my brother is learning to overcome every day. In addition to having Down syndrome, my brother has an increased sensitivity to sounds and sensations. Picture your normal senses being amplified by 10 times. Background sounds that we hear in everyday life, like the distant sound of a lawnmower cutting grass or a ceiling fan spinning, are sounds that are familiar to us and we can choose to ignore. For my brother, especially when he was younger, these sounds could easily overwhelm him and provide him with a level of stress and anxiety. As he has gotten older and with specific therapies, this issue has become less intense, but it is still something that he's learning to deal with on a daily basis. We have also had to work with my brother on his coping skills. He really just wants everyone to be happy and the world to be a calm, safe place. While this is an ideal mindset, the world simply does not always work this way. As a family, we all work with Riley to coach him through situations, learning to deal with change, and teaching him the skills so that he can learn to cope more effectively. Over the years, I have gained a great sense of appreciation and understanding for how hard my parents have worked. They have been very proactive in finding the best programs for Riley, dedicating hours of their time on therapy, and putting in all their effort to make sure Riley's life could be the best that it could be. Riley is very lucky to have been surrounded by a number of people who have taught him very important life skills. These people remain a part of his life today and will be there for him in the future. As much as they have been there for him, many of these people have commented on how Riley has made such a big impact on their lives and how he has proven to be one of their greatest teachers. This is very reassuring to know that Riley has a very strong supportive community around him that goes beyond our family. I do believe that Riley has come into my family's life for a reason. The gifts that he brings to this world far outweigh the challenges. Riley has what I would describe as some superpowers. The first power being his sixth sense. He has the ability to immediately tune into people's emotions. He knows when people are stressed, sad, angry, or happy. His second superpower is pure love. Riley gives such unconditional love to people. He's present and in the moment. He has no judgment or negative feelings towards people. He does not discriminate, hate, or have any prejudice. His third superpower, and one of my favorite things about him, is his humor. Riley makes everyone smile when he enters the room. He tells a mean knock-knock joke and loves to dance and perform on stage. When in front of a crowd, his main goal is to entertain people and have them laughing. If I were to invite him up here now, he would totally steal the show. One of Riley's main acts is impersonating characters and people with his exaggerated faces and funny voices. I remember one specific time when Riley's humor had a great impact on another person. A couple years ago, we were at a family friend's party. Our friend's father, an elderly man who was ill, was seated in the corner of the room with a scowl on his face, talking to no one. Riley immediately went over to him, pulled out one of his puppets, and in character said, "Why so grumpy, old man?" and had the puppet kiss his cheek. The room went quiet as everyone wondered how the old man would react. The man turned towards Riley, and slowly, his mouth curled up into the biggest smile. Everyone broke into laughter, and months later, at that man's funeral, a few of the family members recalled that story and told my mom how happy they were that Riley came on that particular day. Riley's next superpower is his compassion. Riley has a great deal of compassion for people, particularly when he senses they are struggling or in pain. He takes it upon himself to support and help people in his own way. My mom recently told me a story about Riley having an encounter with a woman who was terminally ill. My family was once again at an event with many people. Riley was only 5 years old at the time. When he entered the event, he made his way directly through the crowd and found the woman sitting down. She was clearly not feeling well. Riley approached the woman, reached his little hand up, and stroked the side of her face in a loving way, as if he was saying, "It's okay, I'm here to make you feel better." My mom said the woman broke into tears and talked about how much love she felt for Riley in that moment. There are many things I have learned from my brother, things that have impacted who I am as a person and how I view the world. I have learned to be more accepting of people's differences, and I believe that everyone has something to offer. Riley always reminds me not to take life or myself too seriously, to remember to laugh and be in the moment. I have learned to be confident in critical situations, to gain problem-solving skills and think about my own coping strategies. I have come to understand that there's a lot more to a person than just how they appear. Sometimes, when I tell someone that my brother has a disability, people respond with sympathy and tell me how sorry they are. I truly know that they mean well, but what I want people to know is that I feel blessed to have him as a part of my life. I am so proud and inspired by him every day. Having Riley as a brother has without a doubt been one of the greatest aspects of my life. I believe Riley and people who have challenges actually have come into this world as our teachers. I encourage you to walk away having shifted your perspective. When you see someone who appears to be challenged in some way, whether it be through a disability, a mental health issue, or just someone who represents something different, instead of judging that person as less than, challenge yourself to think, what can I learn from this person? What are their strengths? What if people like Riley have more to teach us than we have to teach them? Perhaps we all need to focus on developing our own superpowers. Just like Riley, We can learn to expand our sensitivity towards other people's feelings. We can learn to love and care for each other more, to laugh more and not take life too seriously. We can show more compassion and learn to appreciate each other's differences. So, what I want you to do is to think of one of your greatest challenges. How can you use your own superpowers to help you see your situation and turn it into a learning experience? It's your choice to make. You can either find your true strengths and capabilities or become the victim of your circumstances. Always have faith and confidence in yourself and know that the bigger the challenge, the greater the reward. Thank you.